Welcome to the Finding the Magic podcast, where books come alive. I'm Tricia Copeland, a fiction author and host of this show. If you love books, finding great reads, and hearing about the story behind the story directly from the authors, this is the place for you. Whether you like fantasy, science fiction, dystopian, or romance titles, I think you'll find something to love in my playlist. Listen in to discover something magical about a book or two today. Hi, Jen. Welcome.
Thank you, Tricia. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Today I'm talking with J.L. Hendricks and Jenna Hendricks. She has books in multiple genres, so I'm super excited to hear about all of them. Jen, do you want to jump in and give us a broad overview and then we can dive deeper?
Sure. So I have two pen names. J.L. Hendricks writes mostly urban fantasy and what some of us are calling paranormal light, where it's paranormal, but it doesn't have all of there's romance, but it's clean romance. We'll just say that. um, and then my other pen name is Jenna Hendricks, where I write contemporary romance, mostly about cowboys, which is awesome. And then I'm also starting a brand new series at the end of the year, which will be Cozy Mystery.
Ooh, I think almost everyone loves a good cozy mystery.
I hope so. I hope everyone loves this one. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying developing it and just started writing it, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Super fun. Well, let's start from the beginning. Did you start writing urban fantasy paranormal? Is that where your career started?
Yes. So I started eight eight years ago. Oh my gosh, 8 years ago this month, I got laid off. It was part of a massive layoff at my company, and they changed. It doesn't matter why, but I got this great package, and I thought this is the wrong time of the year. Right before Christmas is not the time to be looking for a job, especially in corporate America, because they always wait till January before they start hiring again. So I'm just going to enjoy this, enjoy the holiday season, and just relax and recharge my batteries before I go job hunting again. And I was reading a book by Michael Anderle, and and it was when he first started also. And I reached out to him and asked if he needed any beta readers, and he was like, yeah, that'd be great. So I started working with him, and then he said, you could write a book yourself. And I was like, nah, I can't do that. I can't do that. It's like, no, you can. Trust me, I can help you. And so he did. And the funny thing is the very first book I wrote, he also designed my cover for me. I still have that. I haven't used it in a very long time, but I still have it. I should bring it out one of these days and put it on Facebook and say, does anybody remember this cover? um, and so I wrote an urban fantasy series that was called the Eclipse Series, and it was about vampires from another planet who came through a portal. And but it was still urban fantasy, and the only sci-fi aspect was how they got here. um, and I loved it, but it needed a lot of rework, so I've taken it down. And one of these days I've done a lot of the rewriting, and one of these days I'll finish the rewrites and relaunch it all. Maybe I'll do that on a Kickstarter or something like that. um, but yeah, so Michael Anderle got me started writing, and then I just went from there and wrote a bunch of urban fantasy books. Then I went and did a clean alien abduction romance series. Um, and I even dabbled a little bit in lit RPG, because I love to read all genres. And so then I discovered clean cowboy romance, and I was in love with that. So I decided to start a new pen name, Jenna Hendricks, and I started writing clean cowboy romance. And I have 3 different series with that one, and that series, that pen name has done extremely well for me. Um, and I also did kind of a rom-com, a Christmas in July rom-com. It's kind of like a comedy of errors. It's a total one-off standalone book. And the idea came to me during COVID because I missed Christmas. And so the whole thing was, what if the whole world had to miss Christmas one year, which we all did? And then a celebrity influencer decided, let's all do Christmas in July. So the whole world went crazy for Christmas in July after the pandemic was over. And it's about a second chance. Actually, I love second chances. So it's a second chance romance, Christmas Crazy in July. Christmas Crazy in July is actually the title.
That sounds really fun, and it's super not weird. Weird is not the word. It's super interesting to me that you skip from like writing urban fantasy, paranormal to now we have cowboys. So, is it still contemporary cowboy romance or is it historical?
No,
Okay.
it's contemporary. I'd love to write historical, but that will take a lot of research. Kudos, huge kudos to all the historical writers out there, because that takes a lot of research to get the elements correct. Because I've seen reviews where someone gets something wrong, and man, do they get blasted for that. And so I have a series that I started recently under my JL pen name. It's a paranormal light series, and it takes place in Antarctica. And it's called Misfit Island is the series name. And one of my characters is a vampire. And I did play a little bit with some history. He was turned during the October Revolution in Russia, when the Tsar was murdered by the Bolsheviks. And I played a little bit with the history, but I did put a little caveat at the beginning of the book that my version is different because this is a paranormal book. And so I played around with an alternate timeline. And so the time was the same, but the historical event was a little bit different because obviously vampires aren't real. Oops. Sorry if I ruined that for anybody. But one of my vampires was turned at the palace during that night. And he comes to 50 years later, or actually 100 years, no, 50 years later, he shows up on Misfit Island, and he's been on the island for 50 years. So it's been 100 years since the event. And yeah, so it's fun, but no one has said anything about my version of the events. For the most part, the details are accurate, but I did add vampires to the attack. So not all of the humans that were killed during the October Revolution were killed by other humans. Some of them were killed by vampires. So
I think people are going to accept that one for me.
yeah, but no, I'm real big on contemporary, just because I would be too afraid. I shouldn't say that, but I'd be too afraid to mess something up and then to have the whole internet come down on me, you know?
Yeah, I've only done well, and the one historical book that I've done is with vampire in my relation with vampires. So it's like a flashback to the contemporary character's mother's life that starts in the 1500s. So I had to I did tons of research, and I've done an Aztec mythology too that I did tons of research just about their culture, and like what they ate and where they slept and how they made their houses. And that was also really fun. But yes, tons of research, and you don't want to get it wrong. So kudos to you. So tell me more about Misfit Island. You have vampires there. Do you have other paranormal creatures too?
Yeah, so Misfit Island, it's kind of like that. Remember that claymation Christmas movie with Rudolph, and he goes and finds Misfit Island? That I've always loved that island, the island of misfit toys. And so that kind of stuck with me. And I have a Christmas series under JL that's called Miss Claus, and it's about Santa and his pack, because Santa is an Arctic wolf shifter, which is the reason why no one has seen Santa.
That makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it does. And then there's a magical barrier that covers his North Pole area that he has. And so I have, Jingle Bell Forest and all kinds of fun stuff. And so it's in that same universe, but you don't have to read Miss Claus to understand it. But there is some mention of Santa and his pack, because I do have a couple of, or three, Arctic wolf shifters from another pack um, in Russia, actually. um, they come from the tundra, the Arctic tundra up there above Russia, and they escape their pack because, well, I don't want to say why, but some bad things happen, and so they escape and they find their way magically, they think, to Misfit Island, and it's a place for supernatural creatures of all sorts. Any supernatural creature that doesn't fit in with their pack or their family or whatever it is, whatever unit that they are a part of, that they were born into, if they don't fit there, they find their way to Misfit Island. And it's usually some sort of magical thing that guides them there. And so we've got polar bear shifters, vampires, uh, wolf shifters of all sorts. Um, there are fey creatures. Uh, there's bear shifters, well, all sorts of shifters, any kind of shifter you can think of. There's also mermaids, just and there is a gargoyle. So all different kinds of characters, and because of what it is, there's no end to the type of characters that I can bring into this series. So we'll have to see who else is coming, but uh, yeah, it's a
That
lot of
sounds like
fun.
a lot of fun. All right, and you said that's a paranormal. You called it a paranormal light series. It's funny. I never heard that paranormal was now associated with maybe a little bit sketchier, not sketchier romance, but harder romance. Like, so has that become a thing that paranormal is now tagged with that romance element to it?
There are a lot of paranormal romance series that would hit like 4 or 5 on the heat meter. Um, and since I'm one on the meter, sometimes might get into a little bit of two, but that's like really rare for me because I love romance. But for me, it's all about the journey. It's not about what happens when you get there. It's about the journey and finding that person and finding yourself and being happy with who you are once you find your way through that journey. So I and a lot of my readers write to me and tell me that that's what they enjoy most too, is the journey itself. They don't want any of the bedroom scenes. And people can have that. They can do That's a great thing about being an author, an indie author. We can write whatever we want, and readers can read whatever they want. And they'll tell us if they like it or not. So, if I do try to write to market, um, but I also write what I love. And so it's not a job when you do that. It's an adventure when you do it like that.
It's amazing to me that you've written so many books. So how many books are in the Misfit series?
Currently there's a prequel novella and book 1. I'm working on book 2. I was hoping to have it out before Christmas because the title is Santa Finds His Way, but it's not going to make it out before Christmas, unfortunately. So when I finish book 1 in my Cozy Mystery series, I'll go back and finish Santa Finds His Way, which is book 2. And every year I will have at least one book in this series. It'll be an ongoing series that I do one book a year. And if I can do more, I will. But I've discovered lately that I can't write as much as I was the first 7 years of my writing career. I have to slow down. my brain. Just not, this is it's just like too much.
Fun. And so you have the kind of a crossover series that's Mr. Claus. Is that a complete series?
Miss Claus, yes.
Or Miss Claus,
Yeah.
sorry.
Miss Claus is a complete series of 4 books. They're all Christmas themed because Santa has his pack and the mantle is always gone from father to son. Well, what happens when Santa has 4 girls and no boys? So that was the premise, the thought behind this series. And so each book is about each of the daughters finding their happily ever after. And it it's really a lot of fun. I I think I might have to go back and read that series again this year just because it's a fun Christmas series, and it's very uplifting.
That sounds really cool. Yeah, I have a Fae series that Fae princess, her 4 older brothers are killed off, and then the line goes to her. So that was interesting. And so, do one of the daughters become Santa? And I mean, obviously no spoilers, but how did you pick which one did?
Well, the oldest, it should be the
Okay,
oldest.
oldest. Okay.
And so, which is book 1. And so her parents have chosen her mate. Um, and it is the son of Santa's beta, which is like the second in command of a wolf pack. And so they've been friends. These 2 characters have been friends their whole lives. And Lizzie just is like, you know, I like Rock. He's a great friend, but I just can't see marrying him. Because I also do a lot of, I love to read a lot of the Regency romances. And most Regency, it's, arranged marriages. Uh, and so I was thinking, okay, so we got to have an arranged marriage, but she's going to buck the system. First, she's supposed to be, well, she can't be Santa because Santa's a guy. We all know Santa's a guy. Um, and so whoever she marries is supposed to be the Santa. Well, there's a magic behind it all, obviously, because it's Santa, but the magic hasn't rested on Rock, who is the guy that's been chosen to be Santa by Santa, the current Santa Claus. um, and Lizzie knows, she feels it in her innermost being that this is not right. This isn't the way it's supposed to be. But there is someone out there. I don't know who he is, but I feel a pull towards someone else. And so she ends up going on this journey to find this person. Um, and Rock's like, whew, I do not want to be Santa Claus. I'm fine with being Santa's beta, but I do not want to be Santa. So I don't want to marry my best friend.
That
So
sounds like an awesome story. What point of view are they from?
So with Miss Claus, it is first person point of view, and it goes around between Lizzie's point of view and I don't want to give the guy's name, but the guy that becomes, her chosen one.
The potential love mate of interest.
Yeah. So it goes back and forth between them because
Fun. And
he's
then
just like, whoa.
oh,
Go
I
ahead.
bet so. Like, I'm going to be Santa? Like, wait a
And he's
minute.
like, oh no. So yeah, but it's a lot of fun though.
Very cool. And so I'm guessing each of the other books in the series are the point of view of the different sisters.
Yeah, and their mates as well. And I I have a lot of fun with who becomes their mate. So it's definitely a nice mix of characters. So yeah.
So I'm hearing some opposites attract, different things like that.
Yep, definitely. And not everybody ends up mating a Arctic wolf shifter either. So there are guys from other races that end up catching the eye and the heart of the Claus girls. So, and I go around to different parts of the world as well. So it's a travel story as well.
Oh, very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
you roped everything in that we love in there.
Yeah, I love to travel too. I've traveled all over the world, and so I love it. So most of the places I've written about, I've traveled to.
Very
Um,
cool.
so yeah, I haven't been to Antarctica yet, though. That's on my list of places to go. I do want to go.
You know, it's beautiful, and a friend of mine went. She got amazing pictures, but I just can't imagine. Like, I guess you dress for it and you're not cold, but I hate being cold, so I am super scared of like even thinking about it because I'm like I'm gonna be cold and I'm not gonna like it. So I'm kind
But think of the adventure. I mean, you're the only one. Well, I've met one person who's been there, but he was there on business. And you've got a friend who's been there. Nobody else I know has been there. So,
yeah.
I mean, it would make for such a great story. And think about all the social media hits you'd get, all the TikToks.
I endure being cold for more social media hits. I don't know, maybe the jury's
Yeah,
out on that one, but very cool, very
yeah,
cool. So you write so Mrs. Claus or Miss Claus, sorry, Miss Claus and Misfit Island are under J.L. Hendricks, right? So
yeah.
jump to the Cowboys for me.
Okay, so the Cowboys. Oh, I have such a heart for Cowboys. Um, and I've been to Montana a few times, so my series take place in Montana. And the first one is the Triple J Ranch series, and it is a generational ranch. And so it's passed down from father to son, basically. And um, the current, so I start out with Second Chance Ranch, which is the first book is Second Chance Ranch. And there are 6 books in the series, but there are 7 children in this family. And so each book is about each kid and finding their happily ever after, as well as their place within the family ranch or elsewhere. And then one of the children actually moves away for work, and she starts my Big Sky Christmas series. So it's kind of a spinoff, but you don't have to have read uh, the Second Chance Ranch series in order to understand Big Sky Christmas. Um, and then I have another one called Crooked Arrow Ranch, which is set in the same town as the Big Sky Christmas, but again, you don't have to have read that series in order to follow along. But that one's very different, and it is so near and dear to my heart. I'm an Army veteran, and a few years ago, when I don't want to get political, but there's some stuff that happened with bringing our troops home, and it was done in a really poor way. And veterans all over America were having a very hard time, and especially those who'd served in the Gulf. And they were feeling as though they were no longer appreciated or honored for their service. So this started out as just a love letter to Gulf War vets. And so I created this ranch called Crooked Arrow Ranch, and it's a place where veterans go after they've served. It started out as just those who served in the Gulf, somewhere within the Middle East, mostly Iraq and Afghanistan. And they come home, the VA can't help them to fully recover. And this is based on real situations. Um, there are these ranches out there, and there are camps and just different places that people can go to help with their final recovery, because the VA can only do so much. I'm a disabled vet, and I completely know what it is like trying to deal with the VA. And I don't want to put any aspersions on the VA because they've really helped me out a lot, but they can't do it all. And so having specialty ranches like Crooked Arrow Ranch, where people who've lost limbs, who suffer from PTSD. They can go there, they get paired up with a service animal, a service dog usually, and they have the peace and quiet and the opportunity to recover. And there's no time limit. Some of them are at that ranch for a couple of years before they recover and move on. But all of my vets do eventually recover and integrate into society. They find jobs, whether it be on a ranch or somewhere else. And they also find love. So, yeah,
That
and a
sounds,
service dog.
yeah, that's really meaningful, and it's really neat that you could write sort of about your experience through these other character experiences too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it
my
is. And yeah,
sorry,
no, go
my
ahead.
uncle was a Iraq, well, Iraq conflict vet, but he also was in the Vietnam War, and then he went to
Mm.
Iraq. So when he came back, he had horrible PTSD. Like my aunt would tell me that any noise during the night, he would like jump out of bed and roll under the bed. Like, I mean, that was just like his reaction to any kind of noise that happened when he was sleeping. Or yeah, so
Yeah.
I I, I can imagine that it takes a lot of time and space for that healing recovery, both mentally and physically, right?
Yep. And the great thing about service dogs is they can sense things that humans can't. Um, I actually, one of my service dogs in the story, and this is based on someone I actually know, um, will be able to licks the person's arm every day, morning and night, and the service dog can tell if they've taken their medication or not. So a friend of mine, she has a service dog who licks her arm morning and night to make sure that she has been taking her anti-seizure medication. And if she doesn't, then the dog whimpers and stands in a certain position, and she knows, oh, I missed my medicine. I need to take my medicine. And that helps to keep her from having her seizures.
That's great. Can they also sense? Can the dog also sense before she's about to have her seizure too? Because I know there are dogs that can do that too.
Yep, yep, she can do that too. And then with PTSD, the dogs give a level of comfort to a human that another human can't do, because as humans, we give love, but we also want love in return. And dogs are different. Yes, they want love, they want your attention, they love to get pet, but their love is pure, much more pure than a human being's love can be. Um, and they're all about their owner. But when you have a service dog, it's not owner and pet, they're partners, they're true partners. And dogs will gladly lay down their lives for their partner. um, Not that service dogs need to do that. Canines in the in war and in the police department do that on a regular basis. um, and I'm getting teary-eyed thinking about one of them in particular in my story. One of the guys in my story had a canine in his unit. It wasn't his, he wasn't the handler, but he they lost their canine, and so he had a really hard time trying to partner up with a service dog. But the great thing about this is I get so many people writing to me, leaving reviews on the books or sending me emails telling me, wow, I had no clue this is what our veterans go through. Or, yes, my cousin said that this is right on. She went through this, or he went through this. My husband, I can't tell you how many wives are reading these books and saying, yes, thank you very much for getting the word out, because this is so true. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of really great organizations out there that help veterans. And I think I need to probably, the next time I write one of these books, I need to highlight one of those real organizations that I've researched.
That'd be really neat too. And it's interesting that you made that pairing, because one of my friends, she writes nonfiction books, but she wrote about her own experience with domestic abuse. and her whole thing is people can buy the book and pledge it to a shelter so that someone in the shelter can get the book and hear her story of recovery and hope, and how she was able to overcome and heal and tell her story to help someone else, right? So I thought that was just the neatest idea for her, for to be able to sponsor a book to send to a shelter. So I think with any kind of book like that, you help someone else's healing process, that maybe no matter where they are on the journey, that there's probably something in these books that help people see that there's hope at the end of the tunnel. And
Yeah,
yeah.
and I'm a Christian, and so my beliefs do come out in these books because I truly believe that in order to have full healing, God needs to be involved. And so it's not preachy. It's very it's not overpowering. I get a lot of non-Christians reading the books, reading this particular series, and my thing is about forgiveness. So, um, so many people say that he doesn't deserve my forgiveness or she doesn't deserve my forgiveness. So why should I forgive them? It's not about the person that's hurt you. It's about you. When you forgive that person, you're letting that pain go. You're giving it away. And if you give it to God and let him take it and you never take it back, then that pain is gone for good. And so true forgiveness is about you, is about the person who was harmed and needs to let that pain go so they can continue their healing process. And so I talk a lot about that. My characters go through a lot of that. As you can imagine, someone who's been in war, there's a lot of healing that needs to take place emotionally as well as physically. And so I deal with that as well. And then some uh, different types of injuries or issues. Like one of my characters has multiple sclerosis because I have multiple sclerosis. Um, and so she finds what she needs, and she'd been misdiagnosed for a long time, and then ends up getting the correct diagnosis, and her life just changes. So different things like that. So that's the Crooked Arrow Ranch. It's probably the one that's going to be the most emotional, but my Triple J Ranch, there's definitely some emotional scenes, even though it's uplifting, it's inspirational. Uh, there's a few situations in some of the books, especially in book 6, the final book. Um, uh, Most people say the final book was the best book in the series. And I think I have to agree with that, even though I love the first book. The first book is just, oh, I just love book 1. Um, but because it's about a second chance romance and high school sweethearts who separated, and due to misunderstanding, which is very, very common with younger couples. Uh, and then they finally get everything all cleared up and find their way back together. So I like that.
That's super fun. Well, yeah, if you didn't have like any low moments in your books, they really wouldn't be true to life, right? Because whose
Yeah.
person's life like just goes like this all the time, right? You kind of go
Yeah.
up and down and up and down. So
Yeah.
it's awesome. Kudos for your finishing the series on a high note too. That can be hard to do. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm probably going to do a uh a novella at some point that shows the family, because I've had a lot of people ask, so what happens to these characters down the road? I had some plans for a spin-off series, but I don't know that I'm going to do that series. I think what I want to do is I want to show the whole family together. So maybe I would say a novella, but maybe an actual novel um, at Christmas time, uh, and bring them all together, you know, 10, 15 years down the road with their kids and everything, and show what a giant family Christmas reunion looks like or something like that. I think those are
that sounds
fun.
like an awesome bonus for those readers that are like, you have to tell me more.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm
Well,
thinking about doing something like that. Just not, it's not happening yet. But I have so many ideas. I will never be able to write all of the books that I have ideas for. It is amazing all the different things of that, all the different storylines I've come up with, and I've got them all written down, the concepts. So it's just, what do I want to do next? And since I spent, I guess 9 months in Arizona, it was a temporary thing. It was only supposed to be for a couple months, and it ended up being 9 months. Um, I fell in love with the area, and so that is where my cozy mystery is going to take place. I have a made-up town that's based on Wickenburg and Prescott, which are my two favorite towns in Western Arizona. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, yeah. So I'm glad you reminded me because I almost forgot about the Cozy Mysteries. Set in Arizona, and the first one's coming out before Christmas. Is that what you said?
Yes. Yes, it's coming out before Christmas. And oh, I should have put a poster behind me. I've got a poster for it actually. I can send you, if you want, I can send you the cover so you can see it.
Yeah,
Um,
please do.
okay, I will. It's called Saguaro, Snowflakes, and Murder.
Ooh, I like the
And so,
title.
yeah, so there's going to be lots of cactus and cowboys. That's what I say. It's my Cactus and Cowboys series. Um, and a lot of people don't realize this, but Arizona is still the Old West. And lots of cowboys, lots of ranches, cattle, bull riding, roping. Team roping is huge in Wickenburg. They call themselves a team roping capital of the West.
Oh wow.
And so my little made up town, which is called Westcott, it's a combination of Wickenburg and Prescott, Westcott. Um, it is going to have, eventually I will have rodeos and different things like that. But the first one is because it's, Cozy Mystery Series, I have to set up the scene and the town and the characters and everything. But there's definitely murder. So by poison, you can see it on the cover. And the funny thing is, on the cover, I've got a saguaro cactus in front of the bookshop. So my main character, Maisie, she inherits a bookshop from her great aunt Jo. And up on top, on the roof, is a bull. And there is actually a building in Wickenburg that has a bull on the roof. And I was like, I have to have that. I have to. So yeah, and then the weather's going to be a mix of Prescott, which is up in the mountains. They get snow in the winter and cooler temperatures in the summertime. And then Wickenburg is hot, hot, hot. Ooh, hot in the summertime. So, but it won't be that hot in Westcott because no one's in town during the summertime otherwise.
Yeah, Arizona is yeah, I want a second home there in the winter, but I can leave it for the summer. Well, meet
Yeah.
me. And what is the date of that release?
I'm shooting for December 19th. I'm gonna probably put it up on pre-order soon. Uh, but I want to wait. I'm doing NaNoWriMo this month for November. And so I'm hoping that will help me to get the book finished because you have to do 50,000 words in the whole month of November. And that should get me really close to being done because I've already started writing it. And then I would, if so, the first week of December, I could have it finished and then off to editors and beta readers and all that good stuff and have it launched the 19th.
And that is going to be under your pen name, Jenna Hendricks, right?
Correct.
Great. So JL Hendricks for urban fantasy and paranormal light, Jenna Hendricks for cowboy romance and second chance romance, and then Jenna Hendricks for cozy mysteries, which are coming out in December. You say you don't do all this research, but I'm hearing lots of research in there with canine dogs and ranch life. That's a lot of research in and of itself. So,
well, yeah, okay. So I do a lot of research, but I think I have some historical romance writer friends, and they tell me about the research that they've done. And wow, I mean, they have to go to libraries and spend hours going through, local newspapers. Some of it they can get online. A lot of it they can get online, but there's some stuff that they have to go to the local library for. And they do a lot more research than I do. In my research, since I'm all contemporary, everything's online. Although because I was in Arizona, it was easy taking day trips to Prescott and Wickenburg. Those were fun.
So neat. Well, thank you for being here. I think my listeners are going to find tons to read because you span so many genres. And I mean, some readers read everything and some readers have their little niches, but I'm definitely one of those more towards the read everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that's
thank
me.
you.
I like to read everything, which is why I'm writing so many things. I'm not going to write everything, but I am writing a lot because I love it.
It's obvious that you love it, and I can't wait to sample one of your books. So I will definitely go there. So tell the listeners where to go to find you. We met through Clean Authors, so that's a good place to find Clean Reads.
Yes.
CleanAuthors.com, I believe. Hopefully, I'm getting that right. But let us know your website and if you're on Facebook or Instagram.
Yes. So I am on Facebook, and it's JL Hendricks Author is my Facebook name. And then I'm on TikTok as Jenna Clean Author, but it's more fun stuff than there's some bookish stuff. But it's just me having fun is all that is. And then on Twitter, that's mostly bookish stuff, and that is TinkFan25 is my handle. That was a private account that I had, and I just decided to keep it and use it when I became an author. So I've been on Twitter for 14 years now, I think. So something like that. And then I have two different websites. One is jlhendricksauthor.com. And then the other one is, oh my gosh, I'm probably going to get this wrong. So let me double check here. It should be Jenna Hendricks, jennahendricks.com. Yep.
Super
So
fun.
yeah, jennahendricks.com and jlhendricksauthor.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for being here and telling us all about your books. Gonna run in one click after this so I can see what they're all about, and I look forward to getting your cover too, so I can put it up on the our Facebook page so everyone can see your new release coming out.
Oh yes, thank you, and thank you so much for meeting with me. This has been a lot of fun. I like this, and I hope that your listeners will enjoy something that I write. I do have a free book for the Jenna readers. There is a free short story that introduces you to the Triple J Ranch series, and it's called Finding Love. Oh my gosh, I'm totally drawing. Finding Love in Wyoming. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I just totally drew a blank on one of my titles. I have about 50 titles, so it's like, oh my goodness. Let me see. Finding Love is Finding Love in Montana. That's
In
it.
Montana, I'm like, okay, well, Wyoming is next to Montana, so that could be it.
Well, the guy in that series comes from Wyoming, so that's why. But it's Finding Love in Montana.
And if we go to your website, can we get the free books then?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can actually, if you go to my website, Finding Love in Montana, we'll have a link to all the different sites, and it is free everywhere. It's so it doesn't matter if you like Apple, Google, Amazon, whatever. It's free everywhere.
Awesome. Super
Yeah.
fun. Well, thank you very much for that too. That's always good to know. We can try your books for free.
Yep.
And yes, thank you again for being here, and I will say goodbye.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.